The regular session for the Smithville Board of Aldermen is now reconvened. We will now move on to item number 4 on the agenda. Alderman Booth.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second, Alderman Moore. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Item number 5, Mayor's Report. I just have a few things to report on things I've done and then a couple things going on. On Sunday, November 12th, I attended the Smithville Boy Scout Troop's 85th anniversary. I was a little late, so I missed part of it, but it was a really great event. It was great to see that we have that kind of longevity and association with the Boy Scouts of America here in Smithville. It was very well attended, and it was there anything you want to add to that, Alderwoman Wilson?
I would second what you said. It was a very well attended event, and they put it on very professionally. It was a good event.
Yes, it was. Thank you. And then on Monday, November 13th, I attended the Board of Aldermen work session and then also the City Administrator Search Committee meeting. On Sunday, November 19th, I attended the Tree of Life ceremony at St. Luke's Hospital here in Smithville. That is an annual event. That's a fundraiser to help raise funds for the caravans that Smithville has. The caravans were originally donated by Joyce Denton. Her doctor was a husband. Her husband was a doctor, and he passed away, and she had been funding those for many, many years. Smithville is the only hospital in the area that has that service to provide local residents to be able to get to appointments and for medical care. So it was well attended. Alderman Booth and his family were there as well, so we were happy to see him there. Just a couple of items for the board for upcoming events. As I mentioned last time, we are going to be sponsoring the Missouri Municipal League at their next quarterly meeting in January, and that will be on Thursday, January 25th. Typically, the host city, there is a traveling plaque for the city that has the most attendees to a MML event. They get a traveling plaque, and 95% of the time, it's usually won by the host city. So we would hope that you would put that on your calendars. We think it'll be a very good event and really give Smithville some credible opportunities for other elected officials and other city administrators and to see what Smithville's like. January 25th. It's a Thursday. It's the 4th Thursday in January. And then also on Saturday, and Chief, I think this is still right, on Saturday, December 2nd from 4 to 6 p.m., Smithville Shop with a Cop will be holding their annual silent auction at Chops Barbecue. So that's always a very worthwhile event, and there's some very good food there as well. And then lastly, please have a very safe Thanksgiving this week, and that's all I have for my report. We'll move on to item number 6, committee reports. Alderman Blomker.
Just want to give a quick update on the search committee process and where we're at. As you know, we've engaged Kirk Davis from SGR to assist with the search for the city administrator. He has begun the process of setting up interviews with the help of Linda with several community leaders. Those interviews will take place kind of 1, 2, or 3 people at a time, last approximately an hour or so, and allow us the opportunity to get input from our community leaders on what they think the challenges are for our community, the city, what our opportunities are for the community and the city, as well as what key things they want to see from a city administrator. To that end, to make sure that we provided input for city staff as well, recognizing how important they are in this process. We've created an online survey that we'll be sending out to solicit their input and ensure that each one of them has an opportunity to help provide a say in that. So that will be going out shortly and will be included in the data that comes forward as we continue that process.
Any questions for Mr. Blomker about that? I want to compliment members of that committee, exclusive of myself, for the great job they've been doing relative to that. Any other committee reports? Okay, we'll move on to our staff report. Jack?
Thank you, Mayor. I provided you a staff report. I want to make a couple of, in the packet, I want to make a couple of corrections. First, the Clay Creek streets are not complete. They were hoping to start on this Saturday. Rain and weather temperatures prevented them from actually doing any base work on Saturday, so they had to start the base work on Monday. They finished the base work today. Now they're in a holding pattern, and I'll be discussing that a little further down the road as it relates to our standards for infrastructure inspections. So they are a little bit behind. And Hawthorne is moving ahead. They were originally not supposed to be here doing the sodding, which is the final element, until next Monday. They have appeared on this Monday instead, and they're already sodding in the area to get that wrapped up. By the speed of the work they're doing, it'll be, looks like March before they're done. Gee, they're not moving very quickly, but they've got some issues that they're working through. In addition to what's in the packet, I've presented a document on your desk. Midwest Public Risk is our, and I'm doing quotes intentionally, insurer. They provide our insurance, although they're not really our insurer because we're a member. It's slightly different. We're a pooled risk group with other entities. This is their missive on how we should handle ourselves as it relates to managing our risk. Not just the typical we're buying insurance, but we have to manage our risk. Chief will tell you in his department, MPR's risk management has training sessions and all kinds of stuff that helps manage the risk. The other aspect is what if we've got a third party coming in to perform a contract or using our facilities or any of that, there are insurance requirements. We will hopefully, I'm meeting with them next week or two, we will hopefully have them be coming forward to make a full presentation on what the risk transfer issues are, what we need to consider, what we need to be looking for in the future. This is their, like I said, this is their document. I'd ask that you take a look at it and read it, and if you have any questions, you can certainly put those out to me. Next, I made reference to the infrastructure design standards and inspection standards. In 2006, the city adopted the American Public Works Association KC Metro chapter version of their design standards, and we've diligently used those since that time to require our construction projects to be designed to those standards and inspected accordingly. They drastically changed finally in 2017. So we will likely be coming forward with a recommendation from our engineer on which ones are the most important ones. You also may recall, I want to say, some of you may recall, some of you weren't on the board yet, in 2014 or 2015, I apologize for not knowing off the top of my head, passed an ordinance to allow these engineering standards, the city's specifications, to be approved through a public hearing or public notice and comment process. And then if there are any concerns or questions from the board always has the ability to come back and change those. But that way you guys don't have to figure out whether a 50-degree temperature for laying asphalt is better than a 40 or why that's important. We'll let the engineers handle that. So we're going to be moving down that process. It's about a 45 to 60-day process. The reason I bring it up is the standards have changed such that the top layer of asphalt in the old standards had to be at least 40 degrees outside and rising. The new standards say it has to be 50 degrees outside and rising before they can put it in so that it maintains the quality. We're in the middle of a scenario with our old standards versus the new standards. The contractor at that Clay Creek area always follows the newest standards, so it's more stringent than our standards. We're fine with that. So that's why they're having to hold off on the top coat, because our current standards would allow them to put it on at 40 degrees or rising. They're going to wait until it's 50 degrees. That's better, because the faster asphalt cools, the harder it is to get it rolled and compacted, and then it creates potholes later. So we're working on that. Next item, one of the biggest issues we've got on the agenda, other than the ordinances, it relates to the city website update RFP. There's been some questions associated with it, some concerns about it. I wanted to highlight, this is literally the most important thing we're doing from at least an economic development standpoint. So what I was hoping to do is to, this process was guided with our new communications coordinator and our new Parks and Recreation official title is Parks and Recreation Manager, and he's got marketing background as well. So they set up the RFP and they evaluated it and made a recommendation to me so that I could make a recommendation to you. So if I could, I'd let ask Micah come up and kind of go through what they did to get to this point with the recommendation, because ultimately we think this is probably one of the most important things we do.
Alderman, as you can see from the little chart here, and of course if you have any trouble seeing it or questions, I'd be happy to fill you in on the numbers. I color-coded it so that it would be a little easier to see from a distance. There were a number of issues that Matthew and I went through when we were opening these RFPs. We had 6 bids put in. Obviously, one of the biggest concerns is overall development cost and ongoing annual cost, but we also took into consideration rollout time, the amount of time they would need to completely redevelop the website, whether or not they include in their pricing a redesign down the road, as in completely revamping the website again in, say, 4 years. A number of them now build that into the cost. And then whether or not they met our feature lists that we had put out in the RFP itself. As you can see, based on the color coding, green is good, red is not so much. Green is, you see with the development costs, the top 3 there had the lowest prices by far as the initial development and the ongoing annual cost. A few of the more expensive options did have, thank you, Jack. A few of the more expensive options did have faster rollout time, but we're talking a couple of weeks in general, 2, 3, 4 weeks. All of these are looking at probably at least a 4-month minimum for rollout. You'll also note the top 3, along with being the cheapest initial development, also include redesigns 4 years down the road built into their cost, meaning not only are they a great value up front, but that in 4 years, when technology has advanced more, when styles have changed, we get essentially an entirely new website built to the new standards. Features, we had a massive list of features and qualifications that we asked for in our RFP, 31 separate items that they could offer us that we really wanted integrated into a modern website. There were only 2 companies, the least expensive and the most expensive, that actually met all of those features. A few of the others could integrate through custom coding or through third parties, the features, but those 2 both included their own. And then in the other notes section you see there, it's simply just little things that Matt and I had noted as well. In the end, our recommendation is actually the cheapest option, Civic Plus. We recommend it not simply because it has the lowest development cost and one of the lowest annual costs. The rollout time is comparable to the fastest ones. They do offer a free redesign in 4 years. They can provide all of the features that we asked for. And coincidentally, we had just sought a an RFP on recreational software as well, and they actually put in one of the preferred bids for that as well, meaning that we could potentially bundle those softwares and save even more on the front end. So if I can get the next slide, I'll give you a quick example of part of why, not just why we're looking at the website in general, but why we're looking at Civic Plus in particular. This is our current website. Although we like a lot of the imagery on it, the simple fact is when you talk about the modern user, most of them are on mobile. If you look on the right side there, that's our mobile website. We call that a non-responsive web design. It's a list without any pictures of what shows up on the left side of our page. You only see part of the page, none of the images or the major features. If we go to the next slide, we actually see a Civic Plus website done here in Missouri for the city of Springfield. You'll notice, other than the background image, all of the functionality is right there. You don't have to go searching through menus. You can still scroll through pictures. You can essentially have the full power of that website in the palm of your hand on that device, which, again, with the modern user, is a big deal. So that's the long and short of it, and why we have chosen Civic Plus as the recommendation. If there are any questions, I would be more than happy to address them.
Alderman Moore?
On the current website or on the new one? On the new one...
Let's ask the current one first.
Well, the current website, unfortunately, is relatively difficult. It uses a very outdated, what we call an environment where you actually build the web page. Right. The new one is what we call what you see is what you get, WYSIWYG. And it's essentially modules. You drag what you want, text boxes, images, lists, that sort of stuff, onto the page, and that's where they sit, and then you fill them in with the items that you want. So it's much more user-friendly, even for someone that's not as experienced with websites, and it certainly lets you get the final effect that you're going for much more easily. Correct. Yeah, it has a closed back end that staff that needs access can log in and update it whenever it's needed.
One question I have relative to mobile websites. Does it render automatically once you update let's say we update the desktop, does it then render for all types of mobile devices, whether they be Android or iPhone or iPad or whatever?
Yes. Yeah, if we change a picture or a layout or anything on the back end of the website, that's part of the point of responsive design, is it takes all those elements and it just shifts them where they need to be for an ideal mobile layout. So it will actually scale pictures or display text differently regardless of what we put in it.
So we don't have to do any additional rendering other than the main
Correct.
design.
We fix it on the desktop, it automatically translates to the mobile.
Very good. Alderman Booth.
And obviously, I've had email with quite a few questions. First question is, how much does the Civic HR and how much does the Civic add-on cost?
The Civic HR add-on we're actually not looking at, just because although it's an interesting piece, it's not necessary. The main component of Civic HR is just the ability to manage applications, which our current website doesn't do either. It's something that I feel we probably should look at in the future, but it's something that it's a module that can be added at a flat cost at a later date.
I believe it was outside the scope of this RFP, too.
Correct, yeah.
Well,
It's in the RFP.
that's what. Yeah,
Oh, I
I was good. It's in the RFA. It's not in the RFP, but it's going to be in the RFA to bundle them. If you recall.
Well, Civic Rec, not Civic HR.
Well,
Right.
HR is in here as well. Under item 10, job posting.
Oh, in the RFP.
Right. In the RFP for the features, we asked if they had that available. That doesn't mean that we required it in their actual proposal, though.
But if this is something we're going to...
Mm-hmm.
Probably
You're absolutely right that down the line we might want to. The simple fact is a lot of cities, really this is across the board, cities use third-party entities and software that integrate with their current website all the time. We do it for our online bill pay right now. We do it for our e-code. We do it if we go with Civic Rec for our rec software, that's a third-party software. All of that can integrate with the website regardless of who makes the website. All they have to do is put a reference link in, meaning they're linking to that third party. So whether we went with Civic HR and probably saved on bundling, or we go with a different third party, or we keep it how it is now for a few years, where we just take our applications on the website through them literally emailing it in. That's what our current website requests. Either way, it can be integrated very easily. As Jack said, it was a little, as the mayor said, it was a little outside the scope of what we were looking for specifically for this. Civic Rec, I think that one is listed in the packet. I don't have the number right in front of me. I think it was 72 before the bundle.
No, it was 7,900 before the bundle. It's 7,110
right
after.
7190.
7190. Okay. So it's about a $700 and some odd discount to bundle. The Civic Rec is already submitted in the other RFP that they've been trying to finalize and figure out how they wanted to handle things. On the Civic Rec side, they were preparing to come forward with Civic Rec in the scenario where we found ourselves with Civic Plus being the preferred recommended vendor from this. It gave us the opportunity to see if we could get a bundle, and they obliged. So that's why we already had those two items out, website and rec. It just so happened that Civic Plus got the low bid on both.
Procure us a .gov.
They can. There's not a reason that we couldn't. We can. One of the discussions I had with their development lead was actually about either rebranding our homepage as far as getting a new domain, or at least redirecting. Because what we could do is, since a lot of what we currently have says smithvilleno.org, we could actually start giving people a simpler or smaller name and have that redirect to the full site that we already have a domain for.
I know one of the
correct. And we're not sure there if we want a lot of the services support, for instance, YouTube, where you can have a direct link to the video, even live video, on the homepage at any time. Some of them have their own separate live streaming service. So Civic Plus integrates with YouTube in that respect.
So we're going to be uploading our videos to YouTube,
which has been our sort of the goal we've been looking at anyway. YouTube live streaming is a little more feature-filled and a little easier to work with than the Facebook we currently use, but we need subscribers. So if everyone wants to go to our YouTube channel, Smithville Mo, and subscribe, that will get us there first. You have to have 100 subscribers to live stream on YouTube. It's not a hard number to get, at least as a city, but yeah.
And are they taking over the internal website?
What do you mean?
The one that we use right now today for the aldermen and stuff for email and...
Well, the email and everything is still, that's a separate network. That's not actually related directly to the website.
That's Office 365.
Right, which
we already pay for.
Right, and that's Microsoft. It's different server, different network, has nothing to do with
fully
with
capable
the
of doing everything that.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that will change is the back end, what we call the intranet. Civic Plus not only is their back end easy for us for any of us that have access to modify if we do need to update a page, but it also actually has a dedicated intranet where we can send private messages to individuals within the government, where we can post things like the packets for the meetings or the extra handouts that we might have, that sort of thing. So
Office 365 can do that just as easily.
You can email them through Office 365, but you don't have a networked storage space.
Sure.
Well, Office,
But anyway,
Office 365 is a cloud server, essentially. So
Yeah, I work with them every day, about 20 years now. I went to the Springfield, Missouri website, and I clicked on jobs, and it took me to government jobs.
because
So
that's where
that's probably
Springfield,
what they're
Missouri
using.
posts
So
their-
I think my concern is you're paying $24,000 for a development of a website. And when I went out and I looked, and I laid some packets out for some of the aldermen to look at, when I went to, where's my packet?
Are these the ones from your email?
It is.
Okay. If you don't mind, I actually have a list of them here, and I can address
And that's
those.
fine. But when I went out and looked at some of the different Civic Plus websites, Norfolk, Gresham, Oregon, Grants Pass, Oregon, High Point, North Carolina, none of them had any custom development. All their links pointed to government jobs, officialpayments.com, or some other third-party website. I mean, we can do that today with what we have. So I'm trying to figure out what we're paying for.
Well, there's two issues here. First off is you're misunderstanding what website development means. Website development means they're going to take our idea, our branding, our colors, our content, and they're going to put it on a web page that is visually appealing and easy to access by the consumer. The second thing is, as I said, every city uses third-party entities for various things. On Springfield, Missouri, they redirect to government jobs because that's where they take in their applications. We don't do that because we don't use a third party to take in applications. If we did, we'd probably be linking to Indeed because that's where most of our job postings go. It's like looking at our current website where we have a link that takes you to an outside bill pay. That's the equivalent of what you're talking about here. Of course, the link goes somewhere else because that's what the city uses. They're not going to say, you have to use our bill pay, you have to use our application, you have to use all of our stuff when you already have something that works.
I'm trying to figure out what we're paying for.
We're paying for the visual design, we're paying for the responsive design, we're paying for added features that are not currently available on our current provider, such as the WYSIWYG environment, such as blog capability, such as newsletter capability, all built into the website instead of having to shoehorn it in.
You can do that with Google Apps for Business for $5 a month.
I can do that individually and then use reference links on our current website. I can't have it built in as a feature of the website that way.
What would be built in?
Everything that we don't already use a third party for will be built into the website. That's the point.
Okay.
That's the
what
development.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. What
right,
are they
they
going
integrate,
to build in? What are they going to build in for us? What are they going to build in for us?
Well, everything that we put in the RFP. For instance, a custom interactive map is listed in the RFP. That's something that right now we have nothing comparable to. Our current system can't do anything with it. But they can integrate a Google Maps applet.
Mean something like that?
Except that we can actually customize what shows up in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that for free.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it takes like 5 minutes.
We're gonna cut this a little short here.
My point is, if we're going to pay $24,000 for this, and most of what I've seen is free, and you can get it for yourself, I want to see what this company's going to do for $24,000.
Understand.
Before I vote on anything.
Well, and part of it too, you need to remember that we don't have the in-house expertise to
I'm not
put
saying
one of
we
this
do,
together.
and that's
so
agreeable.
That would be an additional cost there. Alderman Blomker.
I appreciate the fact that we're actually in staff report, but I know this is an item on the agenda later, and when we get there, I'm going to move to table this and have us take it up at a work session where I think it'd be better to work through some of these issues.
We'll do that later when that comes up. Well, let's not make the motion to do that during staff report.
He didn't make a motion. He said he's going to make a motion.
Okay, so,
And he said, I will second it.
oh, you will say that. I thought we want to make sure we avoid that. All right. Any other general comments for Micah right now? Okay. Go ahead and move on, Jack.
Ultimately, from a staff report, we are hopeful to move forward sooner rather than later so that we, one of the rec software stuff, we're hoping to resolve that one. We're hoping to get out from under Liberty this coming year. and their sign-up stuff. So we'll be addressing that one depending on the work session stuff, what we come up with.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right, any questions for Jack? Okay, we'll move on to item number 8. Alderman Booth.
Move to approve Bill number 2781-17, budget amendment for police vehicle hail damage repair. Second reading.
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Wilson. Any discussion? Clerk, please call roll.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Mr. Hendricks, would you please read the bill?
An ordinance amending the fiscal year 2018 operating budget to add $44,875 to the expenditure budget of the Police Department Fund.
Thank you. Agenda item number 9. Alderman Blomker.
I move to approve Bill number 2782-17 by title only, TIF amendments, plan, and agreement.
Second.
Second by Alderman Chevalier.
First reading.
Any discussion? Clerk, please call roll.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Somebody has a problem with their microphone, I think. Mr. Hendricks, would you please read the bill?
An ordinance approving amendments to the Smithville Commons Tax Increment Financing Plan and Redevelopment Agreement and approving the settlement agreement among the City Development Associates Smithville LLC and the Smithville R2 School District.
Thank you. Alderman Blomker.
I move to approve Bill number 2782-17, TIF amendments, plan, and agreement, second reading.
Second.
Second by Alderman Moore. Any discussion? Clerk, please call roll.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Booth.
Aye.
Alderman Blomker.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Chevalier.
Aye.
Alderman Arnold.
Aye.
6-0.
Motion carries. Mr. Hendricks, will you please read the bill?
An ordinance approving amendments to the Smithville Commons Tax Increment Financing Plan and Redevelopment Agreement and approving the settlement agreement among the City Development Associates Smithville LLC and the Smithville R2 School District.
Thank you. Item number 10 on the agenda. Alderman Booth.
Move to approve Resolution 547, street sweeper.
Second.
Second by Alderman Moore. Discussion? All in favor of approving Resolution 547 for a street sweeper, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Item number 11. Alderman Blomker.
I move to approve Resolution 548, awarding Bill number 17-21 for police car hail damage repair.
Second.
Second by Alderman Booth. Discussion. All in favor of approving Resolution 548 for police car hail damage repair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Item number 12. Alderman Booth.
Move to table Resolution 549, awarding a bid for the city website until the next work session.
Postpone, please.
Postpone, sorry.
I'll need a
Next work
second.
Second.
All in favor of,
Can I add one thing? Would it be possible to have a demo from the company to give them an idea of what we're looking at?
sure.
Okay, great.
Okay.
That'd help.
All in favor of postponing until our next work session, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Item number 13. Alderman Blomker.
I move to approve Resolution 550 awarding bid number 17-22 for Amory Road Bridge.
Second by Alderman Arnold. Any discussion? All in favor of approving Resolution 550, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Item number 14. I have not received any items for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak to the board? Okay. We'll allow it. Normally you're supposed to fill out a card, but Mr. Pearson is the president of our Chamber of Commerce, so I will allow him to speak to the board.
I just want to say thank you for allowing the Chamber and the city to continue the EDC contract with Leah Jennings. So I missed the last meeting, so I apologize. But thank you.
You're welcome. It's a mutually beneficial contract, we feel. Very good. Item number 15. Alderman Moore.
Do I need to make a motion on that?
No?
Okay. This is something that we've done before 2 or 3 years ago, but I had a phone call from a concerned citizen whose bank delayed making the payment for the water bill, and they were charged a late payment, and they were wondering if there was something we could do to revisit how long it takes before late payment charges are added to the bill, so that if the bank is late making the check, that they won't have to come back to the city and go through all the hoops. And like I said, I know we've been over this before, and I explained to her what we had done and what we had talked about, but she was insistent that I bring it up to see if it's something that we could revisit.
Actually, I visited with Jack about this extensively. One of the challenges we have, if we do push that deadline out, our billing goes month to month.
Right.
And by a certain day of the month, we read the meters. By another certain day of the month, we have water bills out to our customers. By another certain day, we have the bill due. By another certain day, we allow approximately 10 days from the time the bill is due to when the water is cut off. We can extend some of that out, but if we do, then we start overlapping billing cycles.
I explained that to her.
So, Jack, I think I know that you and I think it might make sense to
I can put together a packet
for
work session
for the
on
work session on
13th.
that.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned it is she said that 2 or 3 days could make a difference because I guess most of the board members here don't remember or weren't here when we had the rash of difficulties with the banks being late making payments. But she said 2 or 3 days could make a difference, and I know we discussed last time that we had decided that a week is too much, and it would cause overlap and all kinds of in-house problems. But if there's maybe 2 or 3 days, can make a difference with these type of problems.
And we need to remember, part of the issue too is the vendor who the bank chooses to process those, and when the vendor is delayed, or when the vendor delays their payment and he gets to us late, it becomes a management nightmare for us.
Well, in this case, she did mention that the city was late in getting the bill out.
I don't know that was the case, because we always mail the bills out same day every single month.
Well,
So
that
anyway,
was what was told to me.
From her receiving the bill could have been an issue.
Yeah.
Alderman Arnold.
Just as a follow-up to Corey's concerns about the website, I wonder if we could put that, if it's okay with Corey, could we put that in a work session because of the level of detail that is in there?
Relative to this issue that Wayne brings up as well? Sure.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put that.
If that's okay with...
No, I think that's what we agreed to do,
Yeah,
for the work session, yeah.
Very
I mean,
good.
it's a perfect candidate for it.
Very good. So will that satisfy you with that, Wayne? Put it on the work session? Good. Other items for our, John?
Thank you. Yeah, I've been talking to some residents who are concerned with the accessibility for folks with disabilities and like hearing impairments and things from coming to meetings. So I kind of was wondering if we can put on a next work session or something where we can maybe decide or figure out a way to set up maybe a disabilities, special needs type committee for our residents so they can kind of help us identify issues where folks are having problems like either attending meetings or learning about government. Just things with the city that they struggle with that maybe we can look into getting fixed for them.
Do you want to put that on our next work session agenda as well?
Yeah, we can talk about them.
Okay, we can do that. And we may want to look at how we want to format the committee and who should be members of that committee, et cetera. Very good. Alderwoman Wilson?
I would like Mr. Foley contacted me again, Harborview Homeowners Association, if we had reached a final decision on their large water bill. I reached out to the city and we approved the changes to the water bill ordinance back on October 3rd, but we've never addressed his issue of the full bill or if we were going to be forgiving of some of that.
Okay. We'll address that. Also, I think that'll be a good work session discussion as well. Anything else? Alderman Booth.
Well, I did submit a agenda request, just making sure you got it, and it actually does discuss the water billing cycle, as well as a resident brought up the concern about the 21-day notice.
About the what?
Statute, 21 days
Yeah.
to pay statute,
Yeah,
whether or not that's
And
applicable.
I'll
or not.
respond to you on that one.
Yeah.
That
And
is
that's
the
fine.
law for for-profit water companies.
Yeah.
That is the law.
Okay. So just making sure we got it.
However,
good
we're
to go.
not a for-profit water.
And we'll get all this stuff together in a big packet
Okay.
For the 11th, December 11th.
All right. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Alderman Blomker.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second by Alderman Moore. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.